their own education. And when they take responsibility in terms of their own Africanness and their own identity, when they don't spend all of their lives trying to escape from their Africanness, when they don't believe that to be called African is a curse, you see, when they don't run from their Africanness, but they run to it, and they embrace it, and they become a part of it. Let's see what happens to their learning when they decide and say out loud that I'm black and I'm proud, and that I'm African and I'm proud. Let's look at a school then that is all African. What does it say here about this school? Students in Marcus Garvey School, this is in California, range from 2-year-old preschoolers to 9th graders. Garvey's emphasis, even for preschoolers, is on academics. Some of you go to these little Head Start schools and these early childhood education schools based on white folks' theory. They should learn to be social. Well, they've been socializing from day one. You know, black people are the most social people around. So you don't need to bring them into an early educational situation to socialize some more. In fact, you need to tone it down and get them into a structured situation and put them into an academic setting. Let the white folks play. Our children in kindergarten are reading out of 6th grade books. This is what happens when you admit that you're an African person. But when you're running from your Africanness, you can't read well, you see. Their progress in arithmetic has not been quite as dramatic. Most students are working 3 or 4 grades above level in arithmetic, okay? Marcus Garvey has no physical education program, never will, according to Palmer. And its arts and crafts programs are minimal. The focus is on the basics. Are, as Palmer describes it, the ones our children will need in order to compete. You got to look at the future. Palmer, who heads this school, looks at the future. We've got to compete with the Japanese. We've got to compete with white folk. We've got to compete with the Latinas. We've got to compete with all other ethnic groups. This ain't about no harmony and love between sisters and the brothers and all this. This is not the way the world operates. People compete against one another. The other people are not going to give up their control of your communities. You're going to have to take control from them. They're not going to give up jobs in the name of some human kindness. They're going to maintain those jobs. If you're sitting around waiting for ethnic groups to give you your fair share, you'll be waiting forever. The idea is you have to compete, and you have to prepare yourself to compete. Our children, and they go on here, but let me just read a bit from a reporter who visited these schools, and there are many, I have many reports about this school. It is unusual to hear 2nd graders reading out of 8th grade textbooks. This is something black folk have given up. Or a 5-year-old reciting the preamble to the U.S. Constitution. But at Marcus Garvey School in Los Angeles, such things happen every day. These are not unusual schools. This school is not a school for exceptional children. It does not select and pick these children. And you know another thing it does? It tries not to hire educated teachers with degrees. Yes, yeah. That's right. It works very hard, as much as possible, to keep teachers with the credentials out. They train their own teachers, you see, and develop the kind of teachers they need. If you know yourself well, if you know the world you live in, you know immediately that no matter how credentialed teachers are today, they are not fit to teach African children. You will know that. You will also know then that you as an African people, we as an African people, must train the people who will teach our children. We must define the kind of education that they must have. We cannot let another people set the standards for credentials and so forth and impose themselves upon our children. No people who are sane, no people who are concerned will let another people set standards for who teaches their children. Any people who love their children are very careful about the kinds of people they let come into contact with them. That is why white folk, before they let you come in contact with their children, will make you go through 11 dozen years of white education before you can get to them. Because they want to make sure that you've been appropriately indoctrinated, your values have been appropriately twisted, your whole outlook on life has been appropriately set up so that you can maintain them and their way of life. But we're the only people who say, oh, you got a BS, you got a BA, you got an MS, come on in. You know, it doesn't matter what you think, what you feel, or anything. We call that what? Qualified. No, it's not qualified. Now, he goes on here to say, in Los Angeles, it happened every day. What is even more interesting is the fact that all of the more 300 students are black. No white folk in here. In mid-April, at the African People's Conference held at Compton Community College, I watched youngsters from the Garvey School put on a demonstration of academic prowess, the likes of which I had never seen before. A 4-year-old girl spelled words like bizarre, pharmaceutical, sardonic, impeccable, and when asked, knew what they meant. A 9-year-old performed algebra problems. 9-year-old, all right, performed algebra problems on a chalkboard set up on the stage, and 2 tiny tots had to stand on a chair in order to demonstrate their ability to write their names and the alphabet on the chalkboard. Claim your Africanness. I'm telling you, when you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back, and you're going to get your intelligence back. I'll guarantee you. At Marcus Garvey School, 4th graders regularly work from 12th grade textbooks, and academic excellence is the rule, not the exception. And the principal of that school states this: we will spot any white school in the country 3 grades and outperform them in reading and math. Okay? This is the confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you're about, and knowing your potential as a people. You don't have to beg and crawl and lay down in the street to go to school with other people's children to be the greatest intellects in the world. There's no need of it. You didn't do it before. Why do you need to do it now? In 1978, he had an opportunity to prove his statement. At the end of the term, identical tests were administered to both the Marcus Garvey 3rd grade and to the 6th grade of a public school for gifted children. The Garvey School 3rd graders scored higher on both reading and math. 3 grades ahead, gifted children, gifted white children. And I can talk to you about other cases here that I have here, where even black people in public schools who became dedicated to their public schools achieved. The schools who attend, this is by Dr. Barbara Sizemore, who studies effective black schools. The children who attend this school live primarily in public housing, the Bedford Housing Authority, that is on Bedford Avenue. We're speaking here in Philadelphia. And a low-income census zone surrounds this school. 77.9% of these children get free and reduced lunch. Around 78% come from single female-headed families. And also the turnover rate in the school is 57%. That means every September, 57% of these children don't show up. They go to some other school or they transfer or whatever. In this school, in the past year, 1989, on the California Achievement Test, which was administered in April of 1989, 91% of these children scored at or above the national norm in mathematics, with 55% in the top quarter nationally. This is a school which is 98.9% African American. This was the highest achieving elementary school in the city in mathematics. Not of black schools, but schools in general, of white schools and others. There are other instances mentioned here as well of the Madison School in Philadelphia, again in a so-called poverty-stricken area. The African American children in Madison School have reached or exceeded the national norms in reading, and the white norms in the system. Pittsburgh has 3 norms: the black norm, the national norm, and the white norm. These children have exceeded the white norm in reading for 5 years in a row at the Madison School. So what are we saying here, ladies and gentlemen? We're saying here that we have it well within our capabilities as a people to take the schools that we have to advance the intellectual development of our children, to educate our children in any way we see fit, if we come to know ourselves and if we take responsibility for ourselves. And it is no great mystery as to how this is done. I have here a reference to an article